When I sold my van, I thought I was done with that part of my life. But lately, I've been feeling the tug of the open road again, to the point where I've started pulling out blankets and figuring out how to sleep in my SUV. That feeling really started getting stronger a few months ago when I gave up sugar and screens for a while. The fast ended weeks ago, but somewhere along the way, I never really went back to the way things used to be. I was spending less time online, and what surprised me most was what started filling that space. I found myself slowing down, doing things I hadn't made time for in years, and feeling more like myself again. For example, reading books, actual, physical books. I still listen to audiobooks, that hasn't changed, but now I actually have time to sit down and read physical books again. I mean, I've read like 5 or 6 physical books in the last month or two, whereas there's been years where I've barely read 2 books in a whole year. So this is a big deal for me. There's also a few little libraries near me, those little tiny boxes that are in front of people's homes or on corners, so I can just grab a new book anytime I want and leave one behind when I'm done. I've been journaling a lot more too. I've never really stopped journaling, but I've picked it up in a bigger way lately. I always have ideas running around in my head, but now I actually have time to sit with those thoughts and think them through instead of just letting them pass me by in a rush. A few nights I've even laid on the floor with headphones on and just listened to classical music. I've always been drawn to violins, so I thought I'd dabble in it and see if I actually liked it or if that was just a phase. Turns out I love it. All the deep emotion that comes with it, especially the romantic era. All the violins and cellos, it's just really beautiful to me. My dad used to do that when I was a kid. Lay on the floor in the dark with his headphones on back in the 70s. I didn't really get it then, but I get it now. TikTok is actually what got me into this one. I know, I was influenced because I saw people doing doodle art with these markers and I was like, ooh, that looks fun. These are the type of markers that feels like you're painting, not the dollar store kind that runs out of ink pretty quickly. So I bought a set. Okay, I bought about 100 of them, but I love them and I love what they've done to my little art station on my desk. All these colors just sitting there waiting for me to explore. Doodle art has turned into one of those more enjoyable things I found in all of this. There's no plan to it, you just start scribbling and see what happens, and somehow it turns into something great. One night I sat down and worked on one page and it ended up taking over an hour. I filled it in, colored every section, looked up and the hour was gone. I find myself doing this more often than I thought I would. Here's some of the other doodle art I've finished since starting this creative hobby. No 2 pages look alike, which I absolutely love, and depending on my mood, whatever night I'm working on this, is usually how I choose the colors for the page. There are also times I catch myself just staring out the window. I'm not really bored, I'm just deep in thought, like I'm really getting my brain back. It feels really nice to just sit, be still, and think. I feel like I'm getting to know myself again. Now, I've always been a walker, so that part isn't new, but I've been out almost every day again, and I've even added in a little more hiking. I've also been sitting at the beach a lot, the way I used to picture myself doing when I first moved out here, before life got super busy and I didn't really make the time for it. I'm doing all of it. I'm not sitting there wishing for something else. I'm content, but I think I just want to stay close to God and close to nature, and being outside exploring is where I feel closest to both. So even with all this good stuff, the reading, the journaling, the doodles, the walks, there's still this itch in me, this feeling that I'm being pulled outside. The nomad in me never really left. It's just been sitting there this whole time. I don't know about you, but there's times where I'm in the house for so many days that I get cabin fever. It gives me this feeling like if you've ever been in, say, like a sauna or a steam room where it's like extra stuffy, you walk in and you're just like, like it's hard to breathe and you're just kind of in there for, it's nice. Like I do like a good steam room, don't get me wrong, but it's like sometimes it's too much. And so when you open the door and come out and that crisp, fresh air hits you, it's like, it's like you can breathe. And that's how I feel living in an apartment. Don't get me wrong, I love the comforts of having an apartment. I love having a base to come back to. I love being able to be part of a community where I live. I love all the things. But I also don't love that cabin fever feeling of feeling sort of restricted to being stationary all the time. It's just not how I'm built. Like I feel kind of restrained a lot of times. And especially because I also work from home. I work remotely. So I live at home, I work at home. I'm always basically home until I get out and do things out and about, which is why I walk pretty much every day, and I just try to get out and do things. And I love nature. I love being outside, which is one of the reasons why I initially chose to live in a car and then live in a van, is because I love just being free out on the open road. And I sort of talked about this in one of my videos when I was living in Vegas. And then I kind of talked about it in one of the videos when I was living in Texas, where I had kind of gotten to a place where I settled down somewhere, and I just felt that pull to go back out. But also, I do remember that when I was living out on the road full time, it was too much. It was too isolating. I was constantly gone from family, friends. It's hard to keep friendships going when you're constantly on the move. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved doing full-time travel, but it came to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. So now that I'm settled in California, I love it. I feel like this is my home. I've discovered where I want to be. I love living near the beach, near the ocean. It's amazing and I love it. But there's still times where I'm like, I just want to be out there. I want to wake up in a new place every day. I want to discover different places and different restaurants and people doing different things in different areas. So lately I've been slowly stocking up my car so that I can start having a little more adventures out and about in my car. So some car camping, maybe some little road trips, different things that I could do. And I don't mean just weekend wanderer things. I mean, there's times where I'm just sitting at home and I'm not doing anything, and it's nighttime, or it'd be like a sunset time, and I'm like, I just want to be out driving around, or I want to just go sleep and just like open my sunroof and just look up at the stars. And I feel like it's calling me, it's pulling me. And this is the exact same feeling I had back in 2019, 2020 when I started living in my car. At that time, I had moved out from the San Diego area, moved in with my parents to start traveling full time. And I didn't have that much money, so I couldn't do all this international travel. So I was like, what can I do? And so I was just using the resources I have, which at the time I just had a car. And so I started stocking that up, and then I started doing trips in it. And so I just felt pulled to do it. I don't know. And lately I've been feeling that same pull. I have been thinking about how I want to set up this car for car camping. And I don't want to be fussy about it. That is kind of in my nature to be a little bit perfectionisty. But I'm trying not to be too fussy about it. But I'm also trying to set it up in a way that I will enjoy just jumping in the car and just going on a little trip. Before I had a car, now I have an SUV, so there's no trunk. So I need to think about this a little bit differently. And so there's been sort of two ways that I've been thinking about sleeping. The first one is I've been thinking about just going back to my tried and true and just like laying in the back seat. And the second one is to fold down one of those back seats and just lay like vertically or whatever, which will give me kind of more stretch out room for my legs. But then that takes out half of the back seat and half of the trunk. So I don't know if I even need that much storage because I'm not going to be doing this full time. But I did love the idea of just using the back seat as my sleeping area, and then I'd have my full trunk space for all the other stuff. But there's pros and cons to both. I know back when I started living in my car the first time, I just started putting stuff in the car and I just started setting it up. And I did try sleeping in through the trunk space, and that just wasn't going to work out. So I ended up in the back seat. And I did my first trip, and then I discovered things along the way. Now, I've lived in my car and I've lived in a van. I've lived out on the open road. So there's some things that I do know, but I feel like I forgot some of these things. So I'm trying to be kind of thoughtful about the way that I pack up the car. But one of the things about sleeping in the back seat is that because I'm 5'7", I can put my head on this side and then my feet on this side. But I do need to kind of curve my legs and feet around the passenger's seat. Or if I do it vice versa, whatever. I need to put my legs kind of to the side. And the only way that can happen is if I have a mattress that spans from the back seat through the place where you put your feet, because if you don't fill in the gaps back here, then my legs would just kind of fall down, and that's just not comfortable. So I could definitely do the back seat again, but I had a lot of trouble with having one of those back seat mattresses that's inflatable. There was many times that it worked great, but then there was times where it would deflate through the night, or it'd get a little puncture and then I'd have to patch it, and it was like a whole thing. So I don't know if I want to go that route. So if I do decide to lay in the back seat, I would kind of fill in the gaps of where the seat kind of dips out. I would just put like some sort of blanket or clothes or something like that. And then I would get one of those memory foams. But then I need something for the footwell section. So they make these little inflatable little footstools that you can put in there. But then I feel like that's wasted space. So then I was thinking maybe I could get a couple of like those plastic totes, but it has to be like 13 inches tall, 12 to 13 inches tall. And some of those are a little bit taller. And then I would also need a section for the middle little hump part as well, because it doesn't make sense to just fill it in with an inflatable, because you want to maximize the storage space. So then in the footwells, I could put storage with my clothing, shoes, first aid stuff, just different things, maybe even some food. So that would be a great use of that space. And then I have the whole trunk space to have like a little refrigerator or cooler, or I could do like a little burner stove or something like that, like my coffee setup. I've just been kind of mulling this over about how I could fill in those sections, because then I could put the memory foam, like 3-inch or 4-inch memory foam or something, a little tiny mattress across, and then I would have plenty of space to lay there. But then on the flip side, which is what most people do, is that they just fold down one of the seats, and then you still have half of the back seat, half of the trunk. Does it really matter? I don't really know. But the other issue is using the trunk space for sleeping is, I don't know if it's like that for all SUVs, but on my car, it's not that sturdy. I was thinking it was just like a little flimsy cardboardy kind of thing, like MDF board thin thingy, but it's more like a thick styrofoam. But the problem is, in the middle, it kind of caves in if you like, put your knee on it, or like, reach in to get something. And so I've been trying to figure out how to stabilize that. And I was just going to go buy like a 2x4, but I need like 2.5 inches. So the 2x4, I would need to add something to the 2 to make it a little bit taller. And then I was thinking about how I always try to use the resources I have. And I did have some wood from another project that I did at home. And those are, I think, 2x2s, but it's a little bit too short. So I would need to also beef those up. So I try to put it under where the tire goes and then press down on it, but it's a little bit too short. So I need like 1/2 inch to raise it up a little bit. So I don't know if I should get a 2x4 and then shave down the 4-inch section. I don't know how I would do that. I don't know. I've just been trying to think about how I can do that. And if you have any ideas, let me know, because I'm really trying to figure that out. So I need to beef up the back part of the trunk so that if I lay on it, it's not like caving in, because I really don't want to ruin anything in this car. I've seen several different people build out their SUVs, and I saw one really cool thing where they used this shelving unit, this plastic shelving unit, to kind of make a platform. But then when you make a platform, it kind of raises you up so that your face is closer to the ceiling. And so people were saying, no, I don't want to be that tall. So I've been thinking about doing that. And then another thing would be to just like build my own out of wood, but that's maybe a little bit heavier. I saw another video where this lady, she used a card table as kind of sort of a balancer, because when you lay this seat down, it's at an angle and then it goes like down. So you kind of need a filler in the back so that you're not angled down and in a weird position where it just kind of drops off. I could definitely buy a card table and do that. But I thought that first I would just start with putting a thick blanket down, and then just use blankets for now. And that's the most simplest thing that I can do at this point. Also, this is probably not the best time to start this because it is the summer. And although I do live by the beach and it is cooler, this is like one of the worst parts of living in a vehicle is the heat. So who knows? But I think at nighttime it might be okay. If I go to some other beach areas or just places that are a little bit cooler, I think that's going to be okay. But these are all the things that I'm thinking about. I do have a little Jackery that's like, I think it's 240 or 250. It's not going to be enough for anything. It's like a little pipsqueak. I mean, it's been super great. Like when my power goes out, I could just plug stuff in there. So it's definitely served its purpose. But for car camping, I think I need something more powerful, especially if I'm going to try to do like a little electric cooler or refrigerator or something like that. And also just for my electronics and different things like that. And eventually I might want to get a solar panel, but let me not get ahead of myself here. I also need to sort out my window coverings because that is a huge thing when you're sleeping in a vehicle. You want to make sure that you have full coverage, not only for privacy, but also during the day, it's nice to have some sort of reflective material to keep the heat out. So I've just been slowly trying to build this out. I want to get this done soon so that I can do my first night test out on the road. For those that have been around for a while, you know that back years ago when I started my car life, I did a first night sleeping in my car test where I drove about 30 minutes away from where I was living at the time, just so I wouldn't cheat and go in the house. And mistakes were made. And so I'm going to do another one pretty soon, probably in the next video, where I get this set up. Whatever it's going to be is whatever it's going to be. I want to set it up, go do my first trial run. And then from then on, I can just take out stuff, add stuff, just see how things go. I also need to figure out bathroom needs, shower needs, and all these different needs. I also really want to set up my car because whenever I do want to take a little road trip, I'm sick of paying for hotels. It's just like I don't have that great of luck because I'm so cheap that I want to get the cheapest room, but then I end up with a crappy room. And so I'm like, I can just deck out my car and then sleep in my car and then I can explore all of it I want to. So that's kind of the idea of what I'm doing. Okay, so I filmed all of that thinking I needed a platform or some cushions or one of those car cots that everyone's using. But then I actually laid down in it and tried it out for a bit and I realized I don't really need any of that. Not to start anyway. I've talked before about keeping things simple, and the same thing applies here. So instead of building anything, I'm just going to go with what I already own, which still falls in line to use the resources that you have. It's one of my mottos that I've stuck with for quite a while now. Comforters, blankets, maybe a pillow or two, and if I need more cushion later, I might grab a foam topper. But for now, I just want to see how far I can get with the stuff I already have sitting in my closet. So that's the plan for this next week. The simplest possible setup, the kind of no-build build anyone could do with what they already have laying around the house. So there's just lots of different things to think about when you want to first start living in your car, even if it's for weekend trips or evenings or just whatever. And that's what I've been working on lately. So if you have any ideas or thoughts about how I should set up my car, drop it down below. I read all the comments and I'm taking you along again for the journey. So until next time, bye for now. There's times where I am at home for so long. What? I don't know about you, but so then do it so that when I pop my or if I want to, no, that doesn't even make sense.